Chapter 7. Rustbrook was burning at the edges. Two factions, both convinced they had something to win, tearing the village apart between them. Gunfire, shouting, the kind of chaos that doesn't stop until one side runs out of people. And then, it stopped. Not because anyone retreated, because something else arrived. It came from the dunes. No warning, no sound before it, just the ground shaking, and then it was simply there. Massive, unhurried, a mech unlike anything either side had seen, and both sides had seen plenty. It didn't fire, didn't charge. It just stood. And that was enough. One by one, weapons lowered. One by one, fighters pulled back. Both factions, enemies minutes ago, melting into the dust in opposite directions. Nobody ran. Running would have meant turning your back on it. They walked. Carefully. Eyes forward. Slow, the mech watched them go. Then it turned and disappeared back into the wasteland. Like it had never been there at all. Rustbrook had been quieter lately. They said that was a good sign. Silas wasn't sure when silence had stopped meaning danger. They heard it. Then nothing. Then, again, a low mechanical thrum. Wrong. Not wind. Not movement. Something deeper. Trapper froze. Down. Too late. The dunes ahead shifted. Not from wind. From weight. Silas didn't see it. He felt it. They hadn't even left Rustbrook yet. Silas, Trapper, Harland, Calla, and Orianthe stood at the edge of the village, the last of the night's cold still clinging to the ground. Beyond them, the dunes stretched out, shifting slowly under the wind. Trapper adjusted his pack. Scanning. He spoke first. Low. Firm. "We stick to the plan," Trapper said. "No main roads. The terrain's treacherous enough without attracting unwanted attention." The group nodded. Their faces set with the kind of determination that only comes when you've already weighed the cost. Silas fell into step behind Trapper, the rest of the team tight behind him. They moved into the dense forest that bordered Rustbrook. It hadn't been there before the collapse. The air shifted in pockets, cold, then warm, then nothing at all. Calla stopped. "Don't move." The trees stood tall and silent, their branches interlocked like skeletal fingers. The forest was still. Too still. Like something had already passed through, and might come back. Leaves crunched underfoot. Too loud. Too clear. Harland muttered under his breath, his Geiger counter crackling softly. They'd already crossed 2 radiation pockets. Each warning buzz sent a shiver through the group. "Keep your distance from any glowing patches," Trapper called out, not looking back. "Last thing we need is to end up glowing ourselves." The ground shifted without warning. Stone gave way beneath them. Ruins never were stable. Calla nearly lost her footing on a jagged slab that had once been a wall, catching herself just in time. "Watch where you step," she muttered. Orianthe's voice came quiet but firm. "Watch your footing. All of you." The forest pressed in closer. Not just dense, tight. Like it was closing around them. Trapper didn't slow. But even he adjusted his path. Twice. Then, the sound of distant engines. A low rumble. Trapper's hand shot up. Stop. They crouched low behind a thicket, eyes locked on the road below. A white city patrol rolled past, heavy vehicles, uniforms too clean for the wasteland, the hum of their engines vibrating through the dirt. A branch snapped. Not theirs. Silas turned. Too slow. A drone dipped through the tree canopy. Silent. Watching. Then gone. No sound. No warning. Just seen. Once the patrol passed, Trapper moved first. "We need to be more careful," he whispered. "White City isn't the only thing we need to watch for." They pressed on, past rusted hulks half buried in the earth, radiation ticking somewhere close. Every step measured against the quiet. "We're getting close," Harland muttered, pointing toward a distant rise where the mechs were rumored to originate. At last, they reached a vantage point, high ground overlooking a clearing below. The landscape opened up before them, an expanse of rusted metal, scattered debris, and the remains of something that had once been enormous. They had made it this far. That didn't mean anything. "Let's move," Trapper said. The pre-war facility barely showed itself from above. Its entrance was half swallowed by overgrowth, most of it buried underground. On purpose. Silas motioned the group forward, hand low, "Keep quiet, keep smooth." They descended the slope in silence. Each footfall, precise. Drones hovered in even formation above the clearing. Scanning. Waiting. "We need to get past those drones," Harland muttered. "Wait," Orianthe said. She pointed toward a large metal door set into the hillside, nearly hidden behind overgrowth. As they watched, a mech emerged from a narrow path, massive, moving with surprising grace through the underbrush. It paused at the door. The door slid open with a smooth hiss. The mech entered. The door sealed shut behind it. "That's our way in," Kala said. "But how do we get past the drones?" Silas asked. Trapper was already scanning the thicket to their left. After a moment, he nodded. "We wait for another mech. When it comes, we use it as cover." They hunkered down in the shadows. Time stretched out, each minute an hour. Until finally, the sound of heavy footsteps. A mech appeared on the horizon, lumbering toward them, slow and deliberate. Trapper raised his hand. "Move." They crept forward in tight formation, staying low, using the mecha's bulk as a shield against the drone's line of sight. The mech slowed. Closer than expected. Too close. Silas held his breath. If it turned, if it looked. They were done. The head shifted. Slightly. Then, forward again. The docking doors began to open. Trapper gestured sharply, faster. Silas led the push. They slipped inside just as the doors sealed behind them. Inside, bright lights, polished surfaces, the faint smell of ozone and machine oil. They hugged the walls, advancing in careful, purposeful steps. "Stay sharp," Trapper whispered. "This place is bound to have more defenses inside." The corridors twisted and branched in labyrinthine patterns. Automated checkpoints still hummed with life. Drones passed overhead, their presence felt before they were seen. Every hallway was a haunting echo of something that had once been enormous and purposeful. They were close. They just didn't know to what. Deeper in, the temperature dropped. The mechanical hum grew louder. The team moved cautiously, senses stretched thin. Harland knelt beside a control panel in the wall, fingers tracing the edges of the screen. "This tech is ancient," he murmured. "But still active." "Let me see that," Orianthe said, nudging him aside with quiet authority. Harland stepped back without argument. Silas watched closely. She wasn't just familiar with the interface. She was at ease with it. The screen flickered. Failed. Flickered again. Orianthe adjusted. Tried again. It came to life. "You know how to operate this?" Silas asked. "I've had some training," she said, eyes never leaving the display. "Military tech isn't too different from what I've seen before." Kala leaned in. "These are command protocols for deploying mechs." Her voice held both awe and unease. "Where did you learn this?" Orianthe's expression didn't shift. "Let's just say my past isn't as straightforward as you might think." Trapper's gaze moved from Orianthe to the stream of data she'd unlocked, his mind visibly working. He said nothing. "This shows current mech deployments and their control points," Orianthe continued. "We use this to avoid patrols. Move faster. Silas studied her for a moment longer, the nagging feeling that there was more to her pulling at the back of his mind. He couldn't argue with what she'd delivered. Good work, he said. Let's move. As they pushed deeper, Harland voiced what everyone was thinking. You seem awfully familiar with this place. Orianthe glanced at him. Like I said, I've had training. She didn't slow down. The question hung in the air between all of them. Just how much did Orianthe know? About the facility. About its purpose. About the mechs themselves. Silas couldn't shake the feeling that every answer she'd given them had opened 2 more doors, and he had no idea what was behind either of them. The hum of machinery spiked, wrong, sudden, and before anyone could react, 2 security turrets dropped from the ceiling, targeting systems snapping online with a sound like bone cracking. Down! Silas shouted, shoving Harland aside as the corridor erupted. Rapid fire tore through the air. The team scattered behind thick metal support columns, bullets sparking off the walls in white streaks. The smell hit immediately, burning metal, scorched polymer, gunpowder biting the back of the throat. Harland wasn't fast enough. A round caught him in the leg and he went down hard with a grunt that echoed off the steel. We're sitting ducks. Calla yelled. Orianthe was already scanning the room, her eyes moving fast and cold. There's a control panel. I can shut them down. Silas made the call before she'd finished the sentence. Cover her. He rose just enough to draw fire, rounds chewing the column inches from his face, while Orianthe sprinted across the open corridor. Trapper's rifle blazed at the sensor housing of the nearest turret, trying to blind it. The noise was total, deafening, metallic, relentless. No room to think. Only move. Calla's hands were already on Harland's leg, sleeve torn, pressed hard against the wound. Just a flesh wound. Harland's jaw was white. Still hurts. I know. She pressed harder. Hold still. Orianthe's fingers flew across the panel. Fast. Too fast for someone who'd never been here before. Come on, come on. Wait, no. Give me 1 more second. Silas stepped out of cover. Too exposed. He knew it. He did it anyway, drawing the turret's attention, buying her a half second, burning through it. Then... click. Silence dropped like a weight. Silas didn't breathe. Didn't move. Everyone okay? Harland managed a nod. Just peachy, he said through his teeth. Silas crossed to Orianthe. Good work. Clipped. Grateful. Still not fully trusting, because the speed of those hands was something he couldn't explain away. He knelt beside Harland. We move before something else decides we're intruders. Orianthe was already scanning ahead. Her voice didn't waver. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. The way she said it, like a promise she'd made before, sat in the air after her words had gone. Can you get us deeper? Silas asked. Working on it, Orianthe replied. Moments later a full facility schematic appeared on screen. Corridors, branches, too many to count. What's this? Calla pointed to a section marked Research and Development. Heart of their operations, Orianthe said. Let's see what they were building. They advanced through the winding passages and emerged into a massive room. Rows of dormant machinery, deactivated mechs lined up like forgotten soldiers. The sight chilled Silas to the bone. These are pre-collapse models, Harland murmured, scanning the room with wide eyes. Silas moved to the console at the center. Activated it. The screen bloomed with blueprints, annotations running alongside each design. He read them in fragments. Enforcer class. Population control. Autonomous override. Pause. He stopped reading. They weren't built to protect, he said quietly. Calla nodded. And when society collapsed, they were abandoned. No one left to control them. And now they're running wild, Trapper said. Harland traced a finger along a schematic. These designs show advanced AI capabilities. They could operate independently, no human oversight required. Orianthe stared at the screen. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. They were meant to protect. But without guidance, they became something else entirely. Silas straightened and turned to his team. We know their origins now, but there's still too much we don't know. Who's controlling them? And why? Kala's gaze moved over the rows of dormant machines. Whoever's controlling them now, they're playing with forces no one should control. We need to move, Trapper said. These mechs are dormant now, but they're only a trigger away. The deeper they went, the less the facility felt abandoned. Something was still running. That was the problem. The next chamber stopped them cold. The ceiling disappeared into shadow. The room was vast, the kind of vast that makes sound travel differently, that makes your own breathing feel too loud. Rows of mechs lined the walls and the floor in perfect formation, some deactivated, others humming with a low, patient energy. Like they were sleeping. Like they were waiting to be told the difference. Some bore the wear of decades, scratched, dented, scorched. Signs of use. Others were nearly pristine, their surfaces unmarked by time, as if they'd been preserved for something specific. Slow. The air smelled of old machine oil and something else. Something Silas couldn't name. Charged. Expectant. These ones, Harlan said quietly, gesturing to a group standing in rigid stillness, eyes glowing a flat, steady amber. Still following original programming. Waiting for orders that will never come. Silas moved closer. The glow didn't flicker, didn't track him, just held. Then his gaze shifted to the far corner of the room. Those were different. Their movements were subtle, a slight adjustment of weight, a tilt of the head. Fluid. Almost organic. Not the locked stillness of machines waiting for input. Something else. Something that felt, unmistakably, like awareness. Those look different, Kala said slowly. As if it had heard her, one of them turned its head toward the group. Its eyes flickered. Not the flat amber of the others. Something behind them. Something that looked back. Self-aware, Orianthe whispered. Her voice had dropped to almost nothing. They've evolved past their initial programming. Somehow. That somehow landed like a stone. Harlan's face went grim. If White City gets their hands on these, they won't need an army. Orianthe moved to a nearby console, working fast. After a moment, found something. She pulled up a file. The label read, Control Module. This is the key. Direct interface with their central processors. Whoever holds this can override their current state, give new commands. Command all of them. The silence that followed had weight. If we can get our hands on it, Kala said quietly, we might actually be able to turn this around. We need to find it before White City does, Trapper said. Firm. No room for argument. Silas looked at each of them in turn. Agreed. Let's move. They had a chance. A slim one. But it was theirs, and the mech in the corner hadn't looked away. The alarm hit without warning, shrill, slicing through the heavy air. Red lights pulsed across the walls. The sound of boots and armor echoed from somewhere above them. White City, Kala said, voice tight. They're here. We move now, Silas barked. He looked at Orianthe. She was already on the schematic. Underground tunnel system. Leads out. This is our best shot. She pointed to a hidden access panel. Then that's our way out. Everyone, follow Orianthe. Rise. They moved fast through the maze of corridors. White City soldiers closing behind them. A door slid open ahead. Soldiers, advanced weapons, eyes snapping to the team. Harlan threw an EMP grenade. Blinding flash. Tech disabled for a few precious seconds. They surged forward. Orianthe hit the access panel, fingers moving fast, practiced. In here. One by one, they dropped into the tunnel as bullets ricocheted off the wall behind them. Inside, dim, cramped, damp, the smell of earth and decay. Single file, tight. The sound of White City trying to breach the panel muffled above them. They'll be on us soon, Trapper said quietly. Slow, they moved through the winding passages, Orianthe at the front, her knowledge of the layout the only thing keeping them from running blind. The pursuit faded slightly behind them, but Silas knew that was temporary. At a junction, Trapper stopped. Which way? Orianthe didn't hesitate. Left. Finally, a ladder. Trapper climbed first and threw his weight against the hatch. It groaned open to dark sky and the silhouettes of tree branches, the cold night air dropping in like water. Go! One by one they surfaced. The night was quiet. The forest stood around them, indifferent. The sounds of the facility, the hum, the alarms, the boots, faded into the earth beneath their feet. Silas was last. He hauled himself through as Trapper slammed the hatch shut. They stood in the dark, breathing hard, covered in dirt and tunnel damp. No one spoke for a moment. The quiet of the wasteland pressed in, that specific silence that isn't peaceful, that's just the absence of the thing that was just trying to kill you. Slow, they were alive. For now. What they'd found would reach Rustbrook. One way or another, whether they wanted it to or not. And deep inside the facility, behind the sealed hatch, past the burned corridor, past the chamber with the rows of waiting machines. Something powered on. Not one. Several. Slow, their eyes opened in the dark. Flat. Patient. Aware. And this time, they weren't waiting. Not anymore. Not ever again. Chapter 8. Return to Rustbrook. You're back, Miriam said. Her voice held equal parts exhaustion and relief. What did you find? Silas didn't ease into it. White City knows we were at the mech base. Tension rippled through the nearby villagers like a stone dropped in still water. Miriam's face tightened, jaw setting as the weight of it settled on her. We have to assume they'll come here next, Calla said. They'll be expecting us to defend this place. Miriam nodded, her mind already moving. We fortify further. We prepare everyone for what's coming. Harlan stepped forward, the control module still in his hands. His face was exhausted but resolute. This might give us an edge, he said. But we need time to understand it. We'll find that time, Silas said. Whatever it takes. Around them, the village stirred. Shock giving way to urgency. People beginning to move. Silas caught Orianthe's gaze for a moment. Her face gave nothing away, but the way she stood, quietly confident, told him the road ahead would be harder than any of them had yet understood. But for the first time, they had a fighting chance. And that meant everything. Except Orianthe wasn't done. The village hall was low-lit, lanterns throwing long shadows across worn wood floors. The hum of preparation filled every corner, scraping chairs, clicking tools, the rustle of people arming themselves and fortifying their homes. Orianthe stood across from Silas, arms crossed, her bearing carrying the weight of whatever she hadn't yet said. We need to use the mechs, she said. If we can control them, they give us a significant advantage. Silas shook his head. It's too risky. We don't fully understand how they work. One wrong move and we lose everything. Running won't save us either, she shot back, her voice hardening. White City will hunt us down. At least with the mechs, we stand a chance. What happens when they break free of our command? Silas pushed forward, his voice rising. What if they turn on us? We'd be inviting destruction straight through our own gates. The words hung between them, cracking the air. Orianthe's jaw tightened. You're letting fear cloud your judgment. This isn't just about Rustbrook anymore. It's about survival. And I won't gamble with lives on something we can't control. Elder Miriam stepped forward. The room quieted. Both of you make valid points, she said, calm and measured. But we must decide quickly and act decisively. Silas exhaled slowly. He turned to face her. We prepare for the worst. Fortify the defenses. Get everyone ready to evacuate if it comes to that. Orianthy's mouth opened, then closed. She said nothing. Outside, the village moved with purpose. Calla and Thomas directed groups to the barricades. Harland worked feverishly over the control module, hands precise and efficient. Children hauled supplies. Elders distributed food and water, faces lined with weariness but eyes steady. Every person in Rustbrook was playing their part. As night fell, lanterns lit the square in warm orange, illuminating the faces of people who had weathered everything and were still standing. Silas stood at a watchtower, eyes on the horizon. Slow. We'll be ready, he murmured. Beside him, Orianthy was still. Silent. Her gaze on the village. Whatever she was thinking, she kept it to herself. Rustbrook was braced. The defenses were up. The knowledge they'd risked everything to gain was in their hands. Slow, but Silas knew this was only the calm. Whatever came next, White City, the mechs, or something they hadn't yet named, Rustbrook had one last chance to make it stand. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a thought he couldn't shake loose. Orianthy had known exactly where to go. Every panel, every tunnel, every turn. Nobody learns a facility like that from training. Nobody.